What's up, guys? Ian here, normally coach of your Legendary Lantern, but here I'm B, coach of your Stow-On-Side Stufful, bringing you guys part 3 of the ABDL Season 2 movie, covering weeks 7, 8, and 9. Spoiler alert, one of these resulted in an FF win for me, so this is actually only going to cover 2 battles, but we will get to that when we get to that. So first up here is week 7 against the Turffield Torterra. If you don't know what ABDL Season 2 is, I discussed this in the first movie, the first part of the series. This is part 3 of 5. Definitely, if you're interested, please keep on watching. I run through my entire draft in the first episode. In each of these parts, I'm going to discuss what their team is. I will run through the game and I'll go in depth about the team that I built and am bringing. In this episode, we're taking on the Turffield Torterra in week 7, the Spikemas Spiritomb in week 8, and the Wind and Wooloo in week 9. So Milo, Piers, and Rose in order there. And I'll talk a little bit more. I'll give a little bit more context about week 9 once we get to that. So first up here, I'm definitely going to be more on top of the logos than I was last episode. My apologies about that. So yeah, we're playing Milo in the Turffield Torterra. His team consisted of Genesect, Ditto, Salazzle, Gastrodon, Rotom Frost, Credilli, Mega Altaria, Runerigus, Cufant, Lugia, and Kecleon. I just knew that Credilli and Cufant probably wouldn't come. I was very scared about Ditto against my team, especially with how much setup I have, as well as Dracovish just revenging my entire team, so Dracovish shouldn't come. Excuse me. My team that I'm bringing, first up is Heatran. It's sort of a mixed defensive Heatran. With Shuka Berry for the Mega Altaria. It's a really good Mega Altaria check, and then Shuka can also handle like an Earth Power from Gastro and Toxicate. I've got Rocks, Toxic, Flash Cannon, and Flamethrower. Flash Cannon should be able to deal with Mega Altaria. Flamethrower can deal with the Genesect, and hopefully it's not Sub-Lugia. It's kind of all I'm hoping there. Vikavolt is Expert Belt, kind of able to deal with the Lugia in a sense. I've got Agility, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, and Bug Buzz. I'm running Modest with enough speed for Salazzle at +2, so that's the fastest thing on his team. Once I get an agility off, I'll outspeed Salazzle. Bar any Scarfers, which the only one I could think of is like Genesect. Energy Ball there for the Gastrodon, of course. Thunderbolt deals with the Lugia, and then Bug Buzz is mainly there for the just solid neutral stab against a lot of stuff. Things like Credilli. Bug Buzz is good neutral stab against the Runerigus as well, although Energy Ball is there for that. But something like Rotom, which resists Thunderbolt, I could use Bug Buzz on. So that is the Vikavolt there. Yveltal is Black Glasses. I'm running max speed to speed tire the Genesect with Dark Pulse, U-Turn, Hurricane, and Sucker Punch. I'm actually running my last 4 EVs in attack, even though I'm timid, just for a little bit extra damage on the Sucker Punch, not really for the U-Turn. Hurricane can deal with a lot of this team. If I can hit things like the Genesect, it works really well against. Rather than running Heat Wave, I'm running Hurricane for some reason. Heat Wave probably makes more sense in hindsight. I'm really not sure why I'm not running Heat Wave, because Dark Pulse plus Heat Wave just kind of obliterates most of this team. But Hurricane is a nice neutral option for the Mega Altaria if it is Mega'd. Pretty much all I have to say about Yveltal there. Mega Beedrill, I'm running U-Turn, Toxic, Poison Jab, and Drill Run. Drill Run there for the Salazzle, U-Turn for almost everything else, Poison Jab for a few things. Genesect is like one of the only things that can actually switch into Beedrill. Toxic is there for the Lugia, which I also think is another good check to the Beedrill. I'm running enough speed for Salazzle, so I'm not speeding the fastest thing there, and that is the Beedrill set. Lets me be adamant in this game. Delmise is Lumberry with Shadow Claw, Toxic, Power Whip, and Rapid Spin. I'm Lum for Gastrodon, clicking Toxic, because this is my Gastrodon switch in. It's my main way of dealing with Gastrodon. I've got Rapid Spin there for Kecleon setting Rocks. The biggest issue with the Kecleon setting Rocks is that it can then click like Shadow Sneak and block my spin, which would be really crappy, but I've got Shadow Claw for that very situation. I'm running actually a tiny bit of speed on the Delmise because Delmise and Kecleon speed tie each other, and so I wanted to make sure that I could actually outspeed the Kecleon afterwards. I have Power Up on here to hit the Gastron super effectively as well. And then last but not least is Lando. I'm running a Yachi Berry Lando, which is Dual Dance Edgequake. So I've got Stone Edge, Swords Dance, Rock Polish, and Earthquake. It's a solid win condition for me late game. It's able to take out the Lugia if rocks are up and it's not heavy duty boots. And I think that just in general, it's a great way for me to be able to win this game if I can set up on the right things. Potentially Salazzle locked into a poison move, I'm not sure what else, but Amiachi Berry for the Rotom Frost, which can come, or like Ice Beam Lugia, Ice Beam Mega Altaria, Ice Beam Gastrodon, things like that. Lots of stuff that could run ice coverage against me. And I'm running enough speed for the Rotom Frost as well. So let's get right into the battle here. I'm just going to lead with the B-Drill. Again, it's a really easy lead, safe lead for me. I think I just U-turn on the Gastrodon. I wanted to scout it and see what sort of set it was going to be. Again, Delmise is a really free answer. I am Lumberry Delmise, so Scald coming off there, I did not get burned, and then the Genesect is going to be able to come in on me pretty freely as I go for a Toxic. So a really good read on my Toxic play there. The Genesect is pretty scary getting the special attack boost, but it looks like it's physical, showing U-turn there. And then Heatran against Kecleon, I thought was just going to be rocks for rocks, but he's going to opt to get rid of my Shuka. Doesn't matter too much, just means that I can't Toxic the Gastrodon. Beedrill is a solid knockoff check, and then U-turn is going to be able to deal with Dark type Kecleon. Salazzle switches into that, but it's not boots. So my Lando gets to come in on the Salazzle and go for something. I go for the Stone Edge. I predict the Lugia coming in. It's actually the Altaria, and so we get rid of the Altaria entirely, which is fantastic, actually, because that was the one thing standing in the way of my Yveltal just sort of getting rid of everything. Gastrodon throws off a Toxic, and I pop the Lumberry. This time I know the Genesect is coming in, so I'm going to Shadow Claw that. It does a lot of damage. And then I'm going to switch into Heatran on what I expect to be an Ice Beam, but is actually another U-turn. So the Genesect is taking a lot of damage over and over and over again, and then the Kecleon is going to come into my Heatran. I miss the Toxic, and it goes for Drain Punch, so my Heatran is not in a good spot right now against this Kecleon. This Kecleon is turning out to be a bigger problem than I thought, but I go into Delmise on another Genesect. So the Genesect comes in on the Heatran for some reason, which I guess was for Toxic. And it is physical Genesect and shows off the Shadow Claw there. Lets me go into my Yveltal pretty freely and just click Dark Pulse. Like, nothing appreciates Dark Pulse at this point, so I basically just get a kill with Yveltal. Pretty much every single time that's going to come in. I'm going to go for a U-turn on the Kecleon here, expecting like Shadow Sneak or something. Go into my Delmise. It's not super useful for me. I don't have an item, so knockoff shouldn't have killed me. It is a 2-shot, it looks like, though. I go for the power up here, and I'm going to crit it and kill. I don't remember if that mattered or not, but the Genesect coming in, it only has one more switching on rocks, so I'm just going to give up the Delmise here to the X-Scissor and claim another kill with my Yveltal. I know the Genesect can't switch in on rocks, so I get to Sucker Punch it, get the free kill. Lugia is going to come in. It's not boots, so I go for the Dark Pulse. You know, Lugia generally outspeeds Yveltal, but that looked to be a bit more of a an offensive set. I'm going to go for a Sucker against the Salazzle, knowing that it can't sub on me because it's too low, and then realizing that since it can't do that and it went for the Toxic, instead of Sucker Punching twice, I'm just going to Dark Pulse and claim my kill. So we pick up a 4-0 win. Yveltal put in a massive amount of work this game because I predicted the Altaria switching in, and Lando got that kill. The Lugia being as slow as it was pretty solid for me, as well as the Genesect being physical rather than special, which was very suspicious in my opinion. Ended up just putting me in a really good position with Yveltal to win that game. You know, the Kecleon against the Heatran could have been better had I hit the Toxic. Maybe I'm in a position where I don't have to sack the Delmise or things along those nature. But, you know, in the end, I was happy with how this game played out. My Vikavolt win condition didn't even have to come out at all. You know, my Landorus win condition only had to hit one Stone Edge, and that's all it had to do. So, in the end, the game against Milo here was not too shabby at all. And now we are week 7. So 6-1 now, which is pretty good. And then in week 8, we took on Piers and they spiked in the Spiritomb. And Piers' team consisted of a lot of high-tier threats. So he ended up taking Mega Audino to get a lot of points back and had room for Lunala plus Magearna, which is pretty nuts, as well as a Thundurus Incarnate and a Salamence. So there's a lot of like high-tier Pokemon here, and then some real bad ones to make up for that. But Magearna, Salamence, Tentacruel, Uxie, Komala, Leavanny, Mega Audino, Grimmsnarl, Carkol, Lunala, and Thundurus. Leavanny, Mega Audino, and Carkol are all pretty bad. I thought that Mega Audino might have some use in this matchup as a Yveltal check, but the Grimmsnarl is just as good. It doesn't get recovery. Like, Mega Audino can kind of just wish pass on Yveltal all the time. I don't recall if Yveltal gets workup, but I know I was considering some sort of setup Yveltal to bypass the Mega Audino entirely. Yveltal was way too important in this game to deal with Lunala, but against a Triple Fairy team, it's a little bit sus. Triple Fairy, by the way, is also really sus, but Magearna plus Lunala is so good as an offensive core. The team that I'm bringing first up here is... Let me just find the team real quick. Choppleberry Heatran for fighting move Magearna. This is my Magearna check. Fully specially defensive with Choppleberry, Flamethrower, Toxic, Earth Power, and Stealth Rock. Earth Power there for the Tentacruel. I completely blanked on this getting Earthquake because Earthquake would have just been better than Earth Power for that, but alas, Flamethrower is really there for the Magearna, and that's the entire point of this Heatran is to check Magearna. Toxic for the Lunala if it switches in to my Heatran afterwards, and then Rocks to break Shadow Shield on Lunala, as well as hit the Thundurus and the Salamence. Rocks are actually really important to put things in range of Yveltal this game, because I do think Yveltal is a good win condition for me again. Dracovish is Choice Scarf, because why would it not be? It's been Scarf the entire season. Fish's Rend, Crunch, Ice Fang, Earthquake. Crunch is there for the Lunala, Ice Fang for Salamence, I guess, Earthquake for the Tentacruel. So actually usable coverage this week on Dracovish, even though I didn't need it. I am running Adamant because I'm outspeeding Thundurus Incarnate with my Scarf. That was the fastest thing on this team. There's some like Trick Room options, there's like Tailwind options, but overall it's kind of a middling speed team, so Dracovish has the room to run Adamant in this one. I'm running Roselli Berry Yveltal to be able to take a Fairy hit from either Grimmsnarl or the Magearna, but mainly the Magearna. Roselli Berry for that. Heat Wave for the Magearna. Dark Pulse just obliterates most of this team. Defog to get rid of any T-Spikes or rocks from his side, yeah. And then Toxic for the Lunala. No, it's not for Lunala. It's for Mega Adino. That's what Toxic's there for. So Mega Adino and the Grimmsnarl. Enough speed on this for Lunala. And then I'm running some mixed bulk. I've got some special attack and some HP investment there. I don't recall if there's a particular reason for that or not. Lando, I'm running a leftover set with Earthquake, U-Turn, Knockoff, and Toxic. I'm actually running Jolly to get more bulk out of this set so that I can check the Lando a little bit better. Or not the Lando, sorry, the Salamence a little bit better with Toxic. And still have max attack to hit it with Knockoff and be defensive. So I'm running Jolly with 48 speed EVs, which lets me outspeed Magearna. I just wanted to make sure that I could outspeed Magearna, like timid Magearna, so that I can Earthquake it like all the time, because I wouldn't put it past him to EV the Magearna to outspeed no speed Lando if I was opting into a defensive Lando to check the Salamence like I am. U-turn pivoting is really solid here for me. This is also a really good Thundurus Incarnate check. It doesn't get anything to touch Lando this generation with the lack of HP Ice now. So again, it's sort of bulky offensive Lando, kind of making good use of the nature and optimizing the EVs a little bit. I was sure I could have optimized the EVs a little bit better, but in this case, I'm still hitting really hard as well as being bulky. Articuno is here with Freeze Dry. Oh, that's what Defog is for. Defog is for the screens. My apologies. Defog on the Yveltal is for the screens, Grimmsnarl. Articuno with Freeze Dry, Toxic, Roost, and Haze. Excuse me. Haze specifically for the Magearna, but as well as Calm Mind Lunala. You notice I've talked a lot about Toxic. I've got Toxic on Heatran, Toxic on Yveltal, Toxic on Lando, Toxic on Articuno. I'm not running it on Mega Beedrill, but 4 Toxics, that's all there for the Lunala, as well as wearing down the Mega Adino. I felt like it was really important in this matchup for me to have Toxic spam. I'm fully specially defensive Articuno to, again, take on the Lunala, take on the Magearna. Most of this team is specially offensive threats. It's like Salamence is kind of the only physical threat to me in reality, and yeah, so most of this team is special. Grimmsnarl could be, but I can just Toxic that to death, as well as Haze it to death with Articuno. Articuno is actually a pretty solid Grimmsnarl check. It's not offensive enough to deal with that, and I don't really care about Spirit Break special attack drops because I have Freeze Dry, as well as a relatively defensive Lando that can switch in and intimidate it. So that is the Articuno set there, fully specially defensive, like I said. Mega Beedrill's last. Adamant outspeeding Thundurus Incarnate with this. Knockoff, Poison Jab, Drill Run, U-Turn. Drill Run there for the Magearna, of course. I'm kind of expecting a Shuka Magearna, but I'm not entirely sure what it will be without Z-moves. Berry tends to be the best. Like, Berry, Assault Vest, or Choice Item is kind of the best items on Magearna, unless you're running like Shift Gear, Calm Mind, and then Leftovers is also kind of okay. Yeah, so Beedrill designed to take on quite a bit of this team as well. Just pivot on stuff. I've got a lot of HP left over because I didn't have to run that much speed investment, and I can still be Adamant, so it'll still hit hard. Getting right into things here, I am going to lead with my Landorus, try and get rocks up, and pivot on this on Magearna. Get the U-turn damage off, sort of scout damage, and just, it's a pretty free Heatran on an Ice Beam, especially turn 1. You know, my Heatran is designed to take on the Magearna, and so I can get up my rocks with Heatran. I'm not running rocks on Lando, that's right, I'm running them on Heatran. And then Lando is designed to take on the Salamence, so obviously pretty free switch to the Earthquake there, and I get to knock off the Guave Berry, which is very interesting, and then especially seeing Wish just sort of showed, and me being faster than the Salamence shocked me a little bit, meant that I could get the Toxic off for free. The Stone Edge is not really doing that much damage to me, and as Magearna comes in, I believe on a knockoff, we're going to get rid of the Shuka Berry on the Magearna. So I no longer have to worry about that. I can kind of just go in for an Earthquake. I think I just go for it because really there's no reason not to. Even though the Salamence is intimidating me, I've got it on a timer now with Toxic. We've seen Wish, so it's not Roost. Earthquake, Stone Edge, and I'm not sure what the last move is. As he's going to pass a Wish into Tentacruel. I predicted like Magearna, passing the Wish into Magearna. So I get an Earthquake off there, and a -1 Earthquake kills Tentacruel. Now, here the Grimmsnarl comes in. I obviously have not intimidated this yet, so I'm going to go to my Beedrill to threaten it with a Poison Jab, but there's the Reflect, so that's kind of a yikes. It's going to go for an attacking move here, which is Spirit Break against my Beedrill, which is kind of strange, and then I'm just going to be able to U-turn out on the Light Screen. No, I Poison Jab. Okay. So screens are up, but my rocks are up. That's fine by me. Thundy comes in and defogs away my rocks, which is also fine. I was just going to Poison Jab this and try and kill it, and it looks like I two-shot it through screens, but I wanted to get my something off. Oh, there we go. Now I predicted the Thunder Wave and went into my Lando. Seeing that it's defog, I felt like it was likely to have Thunder Wave for something. I also could have opted into going into my Yveltal, but I thought that this was a better neutral play in case it did use an electric move on me, and it lets me sell another turn of screens, which I thought was important. Goes for Focus Blast, probably predicting the Heatran, but I'm going to be able to knock off the leftovers on the Thundurus and just deal with the Thundurus with my Lando. That's kind of the idea. Pivot on the Salamence here into my Beedrill, which can now get a kill. In fact, it can get a lot of kills. I've successfully stalled out all of the Reflect turns, so it's only Light Screen left. I can pivot on Magearna into Heatran every single time. This is my dedicated check. I chew Ice Beams for days. Get my rocks up again. I'm going to be able to eat my Chople Berry on the Aura Sphere. I show that I'm faster than Magearna, which is great because it lets me get a Flamethrower off. And now the Thundurus is going to die to the rocks. Lunala's Shadow Shield is broken. So even though it goes for Calm Mind here, I can just Toxic it and sort of stall this out. I think I pivot into my... okay, so I pivot into Articuno, going for the Hazes and whatnot on this. It showed it was faster than the Heatran, so it's running a little bit of speed. Moongeist Beam is not quite a two-shot, and it will definitely not be a two-shot after I Haze. And eventually I'm just going to stall this Lunala out. Even though it has Roost, I really don't care. I can Roost on it as well. Again, the Thundurus is going to die to rocks, so Lunala is kind of just going to end up killing itself here to my Articuno. I don't really have to do much, because it's just eventually going to die to Toxic. And then Thundurus kills itself. So I believe this is a 6-0. Right after this, because then Thundurus has to come in on rocks same turn, and it's over. So we do 6-0, the Spikeman Spiritomb and Piers. Pretty solid game, if I don't say so myself. Magearna really could not deal with my Heatran, especially being Aura Sphere rather than Focus Blast. I got rid of the Shuka Berry early. I think the Salmon set was kind of strange, but Lando put in a lot of work dealing with that. The one play that I got correct, which was a really good prediction on the Wish Pass into the Tentacruel, probably expecting me to knock off again. I think killing that Tentacruel was actually really important for Mega Beedrill to start putting in some work, as well as my prediction on the Thunder Wave from the Thundurus, I think actually helped out quite a bit as well. And then having a solid game plan for Lunala really helped out as well. So I was perfectly happy with all of that. And like I said, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. Even though it was like 3 weeks of games, I did get an FF win in week 9 against Rose and the Wind and Wooloo, who were in first place at the time, or close to first place. Let me just bring up Rose's logo here for you guys. But we picked up the FF win. It turned out in real life the person whose ult this was had to go to the hospital, and so I just claimed the FF win because I really legitimately did not have another time that I could play them. I was actually flying out for my trip to California the day after this, so I really could not reschedule at all. And so once we head into week 10, I did not actually play that match, but I did build the team for it, so we'll still run through the game because I built the team and the strategy ends up being the same, but Shade luckily played that one for me. In the next part, of course, not with this one. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this part. Just to sort of touch on my My record at the time, week 9. I ended up being in first place. I was 8-1 plus 33 at this point. Sonia was in second. My only loss, Sonia, was right behind me at 8-1 plus 21. And so I will be in first place heading into week 10. So something to consider there. I believe I'd clinched at this point. The FF win clinched me, I think, for playoffs. It was top 6 make playoffs, and 6th place was already 4 and 5 with 3 weeks left. So yeah, I had definitely clinched with that FF win or with a loss or something. So we're in playoffs at this point. And at this point, I'm fighting for a top 2 seed because the top 2 teams got a bye straight to semifinals. So that is what you have to look forward to in the next part, which is the final part of the regular season. And then there will be the playoffs part, obviously, because now you've seen that I've clinched playoffs. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this ABDL season, and I will catch you guys in the next part.